Look at this, fresh out of the oven. A Yamaha TRBX305, 5-string bass. But is it any good? Should you buy it? Should you even play it? I don't know. I'll do my review, and the rest is up to you. There's an old Chinese proverb that says a 5-string bass has 1 string more than a 4-string bass. It's amazing what those old Chinese philosophers came up with over the centuries. So in this review, we are not only going to count the strings, all 5 of them, we are also going to look at every little detail of this bass so that you know what you're buying if you decide to buy it, so that you can make an informed decision, or maybe not buy it. It's going to be up to you. It's a non-sponsored review, so that means that no one paid me to say anything about this, and no one gave this to me to review. In fact, I paid for this when I bought it, which means I don't owe anyone anything, which means I get to say anything I want about this. Guitar Quackery is a consumer advocate channel, so all product reviews on this channel are non-sponsored. Think about that. So welcome back to Guitar Quackery, and now let's get busy. Here it is. This is the Yamaha logo on the headstock. It comes in 4 colors. This one is candy apple red. It also comes in white, black, and a grayish green color, which is called mist green. Let's have a look at this. So this is how it's shipped. We'll remove this paper. We've got another piece of paper here. We don't need this. The fingerboard looks pretty good. The frets look good. I don't feel any sharp frets at all. All right. So this is obviously good. It also comes with this. So let's open this. There's a manual inside. I'm not sure anyone reads it. And then we have these Allen keys. Okay. 3 of them. This one is obviously for the truss rod adjustment. Looks like a 4mm to me. It fits nicely inside. So I'm going to first try to release the truss rod. I'll put it back exactly how it was, but let's see. Okay, yes. So that's good. So whenever there's a 2-way truss rod in a neck, guitar neck or bass neck, although it is a 2-way truss rod, I don't like it if we need to crank it up counterclockwise, because we are fighting some internal tension in the wood grain. So this neck appears to be good. There are some other Allen keys. I'm sure the small one is for the saddle heights to adjust the action, and this one, well, this one must be for the knobs. Yeah, it fits there. So that's what they're for. Now let's have a look at the back. We see a 5-piece bolt-on neck. This piece of wood at the center is quarter sawn. I can see that because of the flecking pattern that appears right at the center. Now, the other 2 are kind of almost quarter sawn from what I'm seeing. And I don't know if this is intentional or if it just, randomly ends up like this. I have a feeling some selection does take place. Looks well made. Yeah. We have a battery compartment because it is an active base. Let's see if it comes with a battery. No, it doesn't. It's a 9-volt, it takes a 9-volt battery. We are also going to open this. Obviously, it doesn't ship in tune, and I'm going to tune it. And then once it's in tune, we are going to look at the neck relief and some other specs. We also want to hear it. And then I am going to take the strings off, and I'm also going to take the back plate off so that we can look inside. You gotta love the color. Now, speaking of tuning the strings, have a look at this. You see the familiar colors of the ball ends of the strings. So that's a big plus. Out of the box, it comes with the Dario strings. And I also want to mention that it says right here, it's made in Indonesia. So let's tune it and let's check it out. I just tuned the bass. Now that the strings are at full tension, we can look at some of the specs. The first thing that we'll look at is the neck relief. The neck relief is adjustable. We have this 4mm wrench to adjust the truss rod. But what we want to see is if it is symmetrical or maybe not, in which case we would have a differential relief. So I have a straight edge, long one for the base, and I have these feeler gauges. Standard relief for a base should be 11/1000ths of an inch. It doesn't fit, so we try smaller ones. So that's 6/1000ths. This would be for a guitar. Here, 5/1000ths. It doesn't seem to want to fit. 4/1000ths fits. So I'm going to hold on to this one so that I can show it on this side here. It is 4/1000ths of an inch. You can see the number on it right there. And now let's take it, let's hold it here, and let's try the other side. So let's try the same one, see if it fits. It does. Let's try 5/1000ths. It doesn't. So we don't have a differential relief. So the neck is in fact symmetrical. Now we want to know if we can adjust it. So we would need to release the truss rod a little bit at full string tension, just to dial in the relief to 11/1000ths of an inch. Let's see if we can do that, because obviously it's important that we should be able to adjust the truss rod to adjust the relief to the right spec. So it's at 6/1000ths right now, so we need to release the truss rod a little bit more. Let's try. 6/1000ths fits, 8/1000ths, 11/1000ths, 12 fits. So we released it too much. So now let's tighten it a little bit. 12/1000ths doesn't fit. 11/1000ths does fit. And again, I want to hold on to it and show it to the other camera. This is in fact 11/1000ths of an inch. It's the proper relief on the bass side. Now we want to check on the other side. So here is 11/1000ths. It does fit, and the next one is 12/1000ths, and it doesn't fit. So sometimes the relief doesn't actually adjust equally on both sides, which is why we always want to check both sides. So as far as the truss rod goes, or the neck relief adjustment, that all works there isn't an issue. Next thing we want to check is we want to check the string height at the nut. But before we do that, we want to make sure we don't have any high frets in first position right there. First, second, third frets. So here we have a fret rocker. Okay. Now, eventually, I am going to check the entire fretboard. In fact, I should have checked the 8th fret because we were measuring the relief right there. Okay, it seems to be okay. Once I remove all the strings, I'm going to check all of the frets. That's going to be the next step after I remove the strings. Now we want to check the relief of the nut. So that's not the same as the neck relief. So here I have a set of feeler gauges, and on, well, this one here is a very thin one, onion skin, you could call it. So we want to make sure that we have a small gap after we push the string against the 2nd fret. We do have a gap on all of the strings. In fact, the gap appears to be too high, which is why we now want to take a measurement of that gap. So I typically do that with a dial indicator. And that's how we're going to do it this time as well, which is this tool. All right, so here we have a dial indicator. So when we push this probe, the dial moves. So we place it on top of a string, and now we push the string against the 2nd fret, and now we push the string here against the 1st fret. Whatever remains is our measurement, and we want our measurement to be 2 to 5 check marks. So that would be 20 to 50 microns. So the first string, the G string, is obviously significantly more than that. The D string is also more, and that's the A string. It's pretty high. That's the E string, very high, and the B string is also very high. So it appears that they didn't really file the nut low enough. In fact, now we want to know if they even filed the nut, which is why we are going to look at it. Because clearly this is a pre-slotted nut that they installed. But to properly install a pre-slotted nut, you need to first glue it in. You need to use a very small amount of glue so that you can always remove it for servicing. But anyway, after it's glued in and when the strings are on, you need to file it down so that the string slots aren't too high. So here we are looking at the nut. Let's put it on some light here. And so the B string was really high, so let's remove the string and look at the string slot. So we zoom in, and we see that they did in fact file it. So this is clearly a tool mark, and this part here is untouched. So they did file it. Now let's see if it wiggles. It doesn't. In fact, let's check all the strings first to see if they wiggle. Well, there's some slack at the back end, which is good. I guess it's okay, but it does move a little more than I would like it. And this is the A string. See, this is better. And then we have the D string here. This is good, and the G is also good. So now if we remove the G string, let's see, they filed it the same way. So it does appear that they filed the string slots, but just not enough. Now, the frets are good. They look really good. I don't feel any fret sprout. No sharp frets at all. I did remove the back so that we can look at the wiring work. And it looks very neat. Let's have a close look at that. We see that it has a box switch, a PCB switch right there. So this is the switch. I'm not really a big fan of these plastic output jacks. It's got the mini pots, but the wiring looks solid, and obviously it's got a PCB. That's the preamplifier, and I think this is master volume. That's right, this is master volume, and this is pickup control. So if you look at the front, it tells you that this is master volume. So I guess you can remove this at some point. Bass and treble, and then this is the pickup balance. So for this, there are two. It's a two-gang potentiometer, and then you can balance between the two. So bridge pickup is in this direction, and then neck pickup. No, hold on. That's bridge pickup, and that's neck pickup. It does have a place where it settles, so that you know that you're in the middle, and then you play both pickups. Let's have a look at the bridge. This is it. So I'm happy to see that the screws are not protruding. Maybe a little bit here, but we can actually fix that because it's a bolt-on neck. So we just need to remove the neck and then shim it here a little bit. And that will kick the neck in this direction, brings the string, it will bring the strings a little bit lower, which in turn means that we need to raise the saddles. And the way we raise the saddles is simply by driving the screws deeper inside. So I am going to remove the strings so that we can examine the frets. But first we want to do a little sound check. I only have a guitar amplifier here, but I do test basses, even 5-string basses with a low B string through this amp. I never have any issues. I mean, it's not the best sound, but it works. So let's plug it in. So the switch selects 2, 3, 4, 5 positions. It says solo, finger, I guess that's finger style, flat, pick, and slap. All right, so since I'm gonna use my fingers, let's test it this way. Oh, I forgot. We need to put the battery here. So this is a 9-volt battery. And this is how you install it. So it says plus on this side and minus here. It's stamped on the bottom of this plastic box. So plus is this. So you just insert the battery like this, and then you need to put the cover on. That's it. And now we can play it. There, let's plug it in. Okay, we can already hear it. So yeah, so finger style. So seems like the signal is very hot, and this is only on 3 here. The gain is set to 4. Yeah, I'm not really happy with this sound. Both pickups do this in finger position. Flat, same thing, pick. So I guess they want you to use a pick when it's in this position. And then here it says slap. So why don't I play it just a little bit? I'm not really happy with the sound so far. So now it's in slap position. I'm not really a bass player, but you know, just okay, so those were the high strings I was playing there in D. Now let's try the B string. I don't really like the sound. So let's switch it over to finger. And I'll use my fingers to play it like this. So I'm gonna have to test it through a bass amp, because this is not really working out through this amp. Although, like I said, I do use this amp to test 5-string basses all the time. It's not just the B string that's doing all this distortion. So I would say that's not a great sound. Now, unfortunately, this bass doesn't have a passive, active-passive switch, so you can only play it in active mode. So I think we've seen enough. And now I'm going to have to remove the strings. Yeah, so when it comes to the sound, I have to be honest with you, I'm not loving it. I was playing it through a small guitar amp, but that's not the point. That's the test amp on my workbench, and I use it to check basses all the time, even 5-string basses. And I never get that kind of clipping, distortion, even on active 5-string basses. So I'm going to say that's a little bit not meeting my expectations there. I did take it to the studios, plural, and I played it through bass amplifiers. And it sounds more like a bass, although I still think that it's a bit hot. The signal's a bit hot. And I think there's some clipping that occurs inside of the preamplifier. So that's kind of what I was hearing. And it doesn't have an active to passive switch. And there are some disadvantages to that kind of design, because you can never go passive. And if you run out of battery during a performance, you're out of luck. You can't just switch to passive. Plus, if you can't get good sound out of an amplifier that you happen to be using that's at the venue, you're stuck with the sound that comes out of the active circuit. And as we've just seen, it might not sound good out of every amplifier. So that's that. Now we'll take the strings off and we'll look at some other details. I removed the strings. In fact, I removed the entire bridge plate so that I don't need to cut the strings, so I can put them back. And now we can have a look at the frets. So we want to make sure that all the frets are even, that we don't have any high frets. I'm going to use the fret rocker. So the fret rocker is this tool. It can only detect high frets. It cannot detect if any of the frets are low. So the way it works is, let's say I'm going to test this fret, or one of them. So now we don't hear any rocking. So if we just make this fret higher by placing the pick here, now we hear rocking. So that's the sound we hear when we detect a high fret. So let's start here. No rocking. Just a tiny bit of rocking here when I'm measuring this fret. And here, a little bit of rocking. Okay, so we hear that. Nothing here. So this could mean that this fret is actually low. It doesn't mean that it's flush with the other two frets. A little bit of rocking here, but not on the two sides. That's the 8th fret. This one is quite high, so you can hear the rocking is louder. So whenever the rocking sound is louder, it means that the fret that we're testing is significantly higher. Let's continue. So this was, I think I was testing the 10th fret. Yeah. 11th fret. Nothing. 12th fret. A little bit. So the frets aren't as even as we would hope. A little bit of rocking here. Nothing here. It's got 24 frets, 2 octaves. I guess some people like it. I would prefer if this pickup was a little closer to the neck, but this is how it is. Since I removed the bridge, we can see here there's a grounding wire that's now exposed. And now I'm going to put this base over here so that we can look at the nut through the microscope. Not this microscope, but this one over here. This will give us a sideway view from the side of the nut as well. Pretty good view. This is what we see. So we see the tool marks from the file. We already know they didn't file it low enough. Now if we look at the side of the nut, we can see that it's not flush with the neck. Okay, and there's a little gap right there. So clearly they installed this nut after they carved the neck. That's one way of doing it. Here it seems like it's chipped at the back end a little bit. Okay. I can see some damage over here. Right there. Now, this is the E string. And then we have the B string, which we already looked at. And again, we see the gap over there at the back. So it's an okay job. Obviously, you can play it. It's not a spectacular job. I forgot to look for a neck twist when the strings are on. We can still do it now. So what I do is I just place a stick. This is a stirring stick from a coffee shop. So I can just place a stick on the fingerboard and zoom in with the camera a little bit. This is how I do it. I'm simply going to place it here, just balance it so that it's exactly in the middle. And now when we look at the side view, we can see the stick right there. So if I change focus, now we're focused on the stick, and we can see that it's aligning with the top of the guitar body, which is right there. So this means that the neck is not twisted, which obviously is a good thing. Now, the finish of the frets is pretty good. I would say better than what we see on a Gibson guitar from the factory, but I'm going to show you. Okay, so we see that the fret is smoother here than it is on the side. So clearly when they were doing the fret ends, they just went up and down with a sandpaper, held it at a maybe 20-degree angle or something like that, and they hit the crowns a little bit here. So these are the fret ends. They're not sticking out at all. They're very flush on both sides. And another thing we want to look at is if the frets are nicely seated or not. So let's have a look at that. So I am simply going to take a feeler gauge and try to insert it underneath the frets. And I'm not finding any frets that aren't seated. As you can see, I cannot insert the feeler gauge under any of the frets. It appears that the frets are even glued. And the reason why I think they're glued is because I noticed a little bit of glue around this fret that they didn't clean up. I'm going to show you here. So that's probably what it is. We're seeing it right here. So this is glue. This happens to be the first fret, but we see that there's glue and some glitter or something. I don't know what that's all about. All right, it'll work. I believe we looked at everything. If you like this review so far, thank you. Now, speaking of thanking me, there's also a super thanks button you can click on if you want. Helps keep the lights on and the cameras running. And also, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can buy me a coffee. There's a link that says buy me a coffee. So thank you if you do. And if you don't, no big deal. We're still friends. It's cool. Coincidentally, another customer brought one of those to the shop just a few days ago, actually complaining about the sound. So, as you know, one thing that I think is missing on this model is a switch, passive to active switch. So I am going to do some research, and I'll try to figure out if it is possible to install a passive to active switch on this bass while keeping the volume control active or still working in the passive circuit. Sometimes that's an issue with some circuits. So we'll see. I'll work on that and I'll let you know. So if I do, there should be a video about that. And if I don't, there won't be one. But you're still welcome to come back to Guitar Quackery to watch some other videos. I'll see you soon.